Hey, welcome to another episode of Business Mojo and Margaritas, where I get all up in your business in 20 minutes or less. I am Suzanne Proxa, your host, business strategist and coach for female entrepreneurs, and my jams just happen to be client attraction and marketing. So let's not delay any further. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Business Mojo and Margaritas. You can probably tell by the tone of my voice that I am very excited to be here, but then sometimes when am I not excited, right, you guys? So I have somebody with us today who is a sales copywriter who helps online service providers and course creators, get this, sell out launches and sign more clients. I think we could stop right there and everybody would be going, who do you have? Who do you have? So I am here today with Christine Blubaugh, and she is going to talk to us about the power of storytelling to grow your business. And I know that you guys have heard me talk plenty about storytelling. I mean, it is such a powerful thing. So Christine, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Suzanne.
Yes.
Happy to be here.
So why don't you tell people a little bit more about yourself and what you do and how you got into this?
Sure. So like Suzanne said, I'm a copywriter and I focus mostly on sales copy, which means some websites and also sales pages and email sequences, things like that. And I'm all about writing what I call soulful copy, which really just means, staying true to the person that I'm writing for and helping them build real relationships with their audience without any kind of like spammy tactics or things that just don't feel good on a marketing level. And so actually, it's interesting that you asked the question about how I got into this because it really goes hand in hand with the topic. Today, talking about storytelling. So my story and kind of what has helped me grow my business and get noticed is, I had actually started out as a health and wellness coach and, through my own journey of health struggles and things, towards the end of that business, I was not feeling well. And I decided that I needed to step away from that career path to focus on my own health. And I actually sold everything that I owned, moved across the country. I'd been living on the West Coast for 15 years, moved back to Ohio, where I'm originally from, and ended up staying in my parents' guest bedroom, feeling unwell, having money problems. I, quit this business because I, just couldn't handle it anymore. And I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. And it was really scary and uncomfortable, to be like in your mid 30s and living at your parents' house. And, I've always been a writer. I blogged for many years and, it's just something that I've always had as a personal passion. And a friend of mine who is a business coach reached out about help with a writing project. And so she ended up hiring me to help her write some things for her business. And I thought maybe this is something that I could do. Like, other people probably need help with writing. And I was so naive at that point. I really didn't realize that so many people needed help with copywriting. And so I decided to just kind of start talking about it on Instagram. I started posting about kind of my journey at that point and my story. And I changed my bio to say copywriter, and lots of people started reaching out and asking for my help. And that is how my business started. And sharing that story is really how my business has grown. And it's kind of shown me why storytelling is so powerful. And I've seen it with the people that I work with as well. So that's kind of, the nutshell version of how I became a copywriter.
Awesome. So I swear it's funny. Most of the audience probably knows this, but I started as a health coach as well. I swear so many of us migrate to something different. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, for sure.
But so I was telling Christine before we got on that while people tell me I'm good at copy, it is not my thing. So I'm truly like a kid in a candy store with her on today. Um,
That's awesome.
yes. So let's talk about this because you are obviously passionate about it. Like you said, you've been good at writing, and this just kind of fell into your lap. And I'm one of
Hmm.
those people who's like into the woo and universe and all of that, and it just seems like it
Hmm.
was probably the thing you were meant to do.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
tell me, like, why are you so passionate then about using storytelling in copy and marketing?
Yeah. I've seen the way that it draws people to you and gets them invested in you as a person, which I think, that then allows them to feel comfortable and want to invest in your work. Um, you know, the people that I work with a lot of coaches and service providers. So in the online space, when you have that sort of layer of separation that the internet creates between you and your audience, I think it's really important to show people who you are and sell yourself, because ultimately they could choose from thousands of different coaches, but your story is what sets you apart and helps them to see that you're the one, that they want to work with, that resonates with them, and that is going to be the best fit. So I think storytelling is basically essential in that, in your marketing, and in order for people to find you and resonate with you and ultimately like want to hire you.
So, there are a lot of people out there. I'm sure you deal with this. A lot of women, you probably have clients who say, "Oh, I don't know if I really want to put that out there." Do you
Mm-hmm.
come across that quite a bit? Because I know in my business, sometimes it's a struggle to get people to really put that information out there.
Yeah, I definitely get people who are either worried about sharing something, or people think that others just don't really care about their story, or that their story is not interesting enough or something like that. Uh, I think that you don't have to share every single thing that's ever happened in your life, or anything that you're like highly ashamed of, or anything like you don't have to share anything. You get to pick what you share. But I do think that being open to a certain level of vulnerability does a lot for your business, because it makes you human. It allows people to see that, oh, like there actually is a person. There isn't just this like sparkly Instagram feed, So I think it's really important to just kind of give yourself permission to be vulnerable. And it can be a little bit scary, but it's also kind of freeing, to be honest. Like, to just be real and open with people, it feels good and people appreciate it.
I love that. And the thing that I've noticed now, when I got into coaching 3 years ago, there actually was kind of a snarky element out there. It seems like they've gone away, and like that's just one of those things that people don't have to worry about as much anymore in this
Mm.
industry. I mean, do you see, because that's one of the biggest fears that, women that I work with have is, oh, somebody's going to get snarky on my post or make some
Hmm.
degrading comment. I mean, what do you think about that?
I mean, it happens. And like the more well known you get, like the more likely it is to happen, because more people are noticing you, and like haters gonna hate, like that saying exists for a reason. I hear from friends and mentors and things that all the time that they do get comments sometimes, but um, I think you have to think about how many positive interactions are you going to have for every negative one, and how many people are going to be served and helped by your message, as opposed to like the couple people who are going to be like a-holes on the internet. So I think it's really important to focus on like all the positive that can happen when you do show up and share your story, because that there's people out there who are suffering in some way, and like when they witness your story and they know that there's someone else out there who gets it, like that does amazing things for people. So like you really have the power to do a lot to just help people by sharing your story.
That is fantastic advice for people who worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to think about the people that are actually going to be kind and supportive
Mm-hmm.
rather than the couple of people, the a-holes on the internet, folks, the a-holes on
Yeah.
the internet. Oh my gosh, I love this show. So, another question for you. What kinds of opportunities or results have you seen for yourself or clients telling stories in their businesses?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the most important and, the thing that everybody wants to know can happen is that it's a really great way to get clients when, you know, that's, like I said, basically how I built my business. Like I was really afraid when I sort of like came out as a copywriter. So I only I didn't tell anyone except Instagram. Like I didn't post anything on my Facebook or anything for a long time because I was like, I had imposter syndrome about it. So I just was telling stories over in my Instagram posts, and that's how I got clients in the beginning. So that's like one of the really powerful things that can happen for your business. You expand your reach, build your platform, and you get to help more people. But then, another thing that happened for me personally was another copywriter who was like much further along than me took notice from the stories that I was sharing and actually reached out to me about collaborating on projects together when I was just like a few months in. So I ended up getting like mentorship and work from this person who works with like really big names in the online business space. So that was a really great opportunity. I've also had just people, podcast hosts, like reach out and say like, "Hey, will you be a guest on my show? I love your story," without me having to pitch myself. So those are all really great things that can come when you just continually share your stories online.
And I love that story. And you said one of my favorite words, Instagram.
Mhm.
Uh, so is that where you hang out primarily, is over on Instagram?
It is, yeah. It's definitely my go-to platform. I also have a Facebook group, but like Instagram is like my one true love.
Awesome. See, and I think that's inspiring for the audience because one of the things that I try to preach that we can't seem to get away from is this, what's being taught that Facebook is the only way. And
Yeah.
so I'm very excited to hear you not only say that you're seeing your success on Instagram, but that you're
Hmm.
doing it with story.
Hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
think,
And yeah, go ahead.
well, because I think that people, I think that there's a perception out there that story won't work over on Instagram. So I would love to hear, if you don't mind, how you make that work over on Instagram.
Sure. So it's interesting because my sort of strategy or whatever has evolved over time. When I first started, I was pivoting out of health and wellness. And in that industry, I did a lot of food photography and I had all these images of my own. And then when I started talking about copy, I was like, I don't have like pictures to post. I don't know what to post, visually over here. So I ended up just like reposting and tagging people for their images, like reposting images and then writing my captions and like giving love to the people whose image it was. And so people were really, they were happy because I was sharing them, but then I had this beautiful like visual content, and then I was sharing my own stories. So that's kind of how I started out. And it was, for me, it was all about the captions. I was just putting a lot of love into what I was saying and making sure that I was either inspiring or sharing some kind of educational tip about copy or telling my personal stories. And that like, that was enough there for me. And as I've sort of evolved now, I take my own pictures just of my own life because I'm not as obsessed with it being like the perfect thing visually. I'm more interested in it just being like my life and being real. Um, and yeah, but it's still, for me, it's all about the captions.
I love it. So captions, people do read them.
They do. They do.
Yes.
And yeah, and I get comments and they're not all just nice posts. Like there's actually like thoughtful responses, and I've, developed a lot of really great relationships. And now that Instagram stories is a thing too,
Oh,
like I love it even more.
okay, I just drooled a little because I love stories.
Yeah,
I
they're pretty great.
Yes, I also have a problem with IGTV now. It's so
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It's
We could go all
fun.
day talking about Instagram.
I know, right?
Oh, all right. Well, I know that the people listening, they're in it for the tips. So let's
Hmm.
just cut to this question here. So, how can the people listening incorporate storytelling into their own copy and content?
Yeah. So I think the first thing you want to do is really just like identify what the stories are that you want to tell. It might be like me, like how your business started, or, why you do the work that you do, or some other aspect of you that's really relevant to your work in some way. So it might be have to do with your family, or, a business partner, or whatever it is that, you feel is really important to your life, to, the reason that you're doing the work that you do. Just kind of identify one or two like main stories that you tell. Then repetition is really like the thing. And I think that this is something that people get afraid of, or they don't feel like they should do because, you feel like you're being annoying by sharing the same story all the time, or maybe people aren't interested. But that's really how people get to know you. They get that familiarity. And I always tell people, like, think about someone who you really love to follow online, and think about how like so many things about them, about like, what their favorite green smoothie recipe is, or, what coffee shop they go to, what city they live in, their pets, the names of their pets and things like that. And that because they talk about those things all the time. So you want to do the same thing in your business. And, plus you constantly have new people coming into your audience who don't know those stories yet. So repetition is really the key. And then, as your business grows and you evolve, like new kind of stories will emerge and come up, and then you can start to share those. So, I mean, that's the basics.
Yeah, and I love that tip on news stories because I'm also a geek about publicity and getting into publications and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And that is definitely, one of the things that you can do to try to get your articles published is just kind of piggyback off of news stories.
Hmm.
Not copy, but piggyback.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, and so the work that I do as a copywriter really is about helping my clients figure out what the most compelling parts of their story are, and helping them share those, like, through their website and their email sequences and things like that. And then I also teach people how to do that for themselves so that they can be their own great copy and content writer.
Awesome. Well, I know I'm one of the ones that would gladly just say, here, take it.
Yeah, a lot of people are, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love to kind of step into other people's visions and voices, and help them express that.
So, if you were to give like just one tip, like I know you know what all the challenges are, what's one like major tip that you would give the audience when it comes to just getting started with copy?
Hmm, it's a
Or maybe
good question.
no.
When it comes to getting started, I would say, like, try not to overthink it too much, and practice. I think that something that people get hung up on is they're like, well, this didn't happen perfectly the first time I did it, so obviously I'm never going to be good at this. Um, but like anything, if it's not something that you've done a lot of, like if writing has never really been like your thing, it just means that you need to take a little time and practice, and, maybe pay attention to styles that other people are doing that resonate for you. And you don't have to write epic, you know, length posts or anything like that. Keep it simple, So I think, just give yourself some grace and try not to overthink it too much.
So you mean we don't all have to write those blog style length posts for Facebook?
You don't.
Oh
You
my
don't have
gosh.
to.
They're still out there.
Yeah, I mean, if it works for some people, but if it's not something you want to do, then don't do it.
I think that's part of what scares a lot of people is they see that and they're like, oh my goodness, I can't possibly pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure that there are some listeners that want to know how they can get in touch with you and if you have any amazing freebies for them to help them get started.
Yes. So like I said, like we've been talking about, like Instagram is like my main hangout. I would love to see you over there. It's just my full name at Christine Blubaugh, which maybe we can throw in the show notes. And then, a freebie. I have a guide called 5 Steps to Copy that stands out and sells. And it walks you through a really simple 5-step process that will seriously make your copy just way more impactful. And it's something that you can use anytime you sit down to write anything. It's kind of like a setup process to help, with clarity and making sure that you're speaking to the right people and all of that. So that's on my website, christineblubaugh.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, Christine, is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with today? Do you have like any special projects coming up or packages or anything cool or advice?
Well, just advice. I just want to reiterate, start practicing showing up and telling your stories. Even if it's a little uncomfortable at first, the more you do it, the easier it will get. And then in terms of new things that are coming, I'm actually launching my very first group program where I'm going to be walking people through how to do this process, like how to identify the parts of your story that are going to be impactful and how to speak to your ideal clients and actually, some of the how-tos for doing the writing as well. Super excited for that. So that will be coming soon as well.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today. Awesome information for people. And so hopefully some of those who have been kind of on the sidelines due to fear or thinking that they have to write those long posts or that their stories, aren't good enough. Hopefully they are going to leave after listening to this podcast feeling a lot more empowered and will start writing and start putting some stuff out there.
Yes, please do. Yeah, and let me know how it goes. Come see me on Instagram and tell me all about it.
Awesome. So it was at Christine Blubaugh on Instagram, right?
Yes.
All right, guys, that's where you track her down. That's where she hangs out. Well, thanks again, Christine, and thank you to everybody who listened today. As always, you can just go straight to businessmojoandmargaritas.com. And that will take you right to the iTunes version of the podcast. And you can also join my Facebook group with the same name by just going to fempreneurs.biz. I hope you guys will join us. Thanks so much, Christine.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Awesome. We will see you on Instagram.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode. I'm so glad you decided to roll with me yet again. Hey, if you loved it, please give me a rating and some little comments on iTunes. And hey, if you're thinking that working together with my crazy self sounds like a fantastic idea, hunt me down, SuzanneProxa.com. That K is before the S. You can find all of my coaching information, my blog, my courses, all of the things, all right in one spot. And with that, I will see you in the next episode, gorgeous.